Gnar lane, for example, or an Orianna lane, where she doesn't really have exceptional ways to disrupt Victor or Poppy.
And even though we're getting a second pause before 3.5 minutes, there is actually one interesting pathing decision that was made. After getting double summoners down bot, Chaser went red buff into Raptors, into killing the Scuttle Crab at level 2. It wasn't level 3, didn't have access to all 3 abilities to look for a gank. The theory there is because double summoners are down, you can expect Flash Wolves to path around bot because they know that Elise plus no summoners on the enemy AD carry equals a very likely kill. Therefore, go for the defensive vision, spot out the Nidalee if the Nidalee is going to come for a potential counter gank or gank around bot. And it's using the information Longzhu got, despite having an advantage, making the enemy jungler predictable is really good for them. So it's just interesting to see adaptations in path. You almost never see a jungler not go for 3 camps and then reassess, but that was what was done by Chaser here, just to cement the summoner spot advantage they have in bot lane.
And I like it because it's an alternative to forcing that gank, right? Because when you look at the potential damage output from a Varus, a Zyra, and a Nidalee, risking a 3v3 engage even with summoners down is, I mean, it's very high risk, low reward in the early game, right? You're very likely to trade kills back and forth. If it's a 1-for-2 or a 1-for-1, it doesn't really matter. You're spending so much of your pressure in your early game, and you're letting the rest of the lanes run free and just continue forward, which I'm not really a big fan of. So I like this. I think he set himself up potentially to go to the top side of the map. And from what we've seen, Expression can be very strong overall if you can get him a lead and can balance out what should be a Gnar-favored matchup. Papa.
We're just sitting here waiting for a bit more information, but the other interesting thing here in the draft is the Varus that was picked very early here. A potential mid laner. We've seen much more of it in the mid lane, but the reason why we see it is that Ashe was banned, and they didn't go for an early draft in the Jhin. So taking Varus as an early rotation, it's an AD carry with line wave. You can lane very safely against the Jhin, can just kind of passively go even in lane, and that was basically what Flash was looking there. They weren't looking to dominate lane, they just expected the Jhin pick from Fury and went thusly.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, since we have this pause, we're going to go ahead and actually take a look at a little bit of a replay package that we have of Longzhu from yesterday, so we'll get a little bit of a refresher course on their performance. So let's go ahead and take a dive into that one. So you can see, of course, against the Chiefs, Spook's just getting caught out by Frozen on that Victor, as always.
It was a really long topsy-turvy series here. Game 1, of course, was the one that a lot of people will remember. Chiefs had a lot of chances to come up. Longzhu were good at collapsing. Their target selection in fights, Chaser trying so hard to get those insect kicks onto Orianna. Finally found one very late in the game, but honestly, it was impressive that an OPL team was very close to beating a Korean team, even if it was the OPL champion versus an 8th place Korean team in Longzhu.
And, I mean, super shaky at certain points, but I really liked a lot of the ways that they executed in these team fights. Definitely saw some solid performances across the board. And for the Chiefs, of course, it was a really sad story, but they made some solid moves of their own. My big concern is looking at Fury. You know, a lot of mispositioning in some of these fights, and he's not always the center of the attention of the team, but I really like it when he does pick up more of a carry role. He's a very strong player in the mechanical sense, and I like it when they build team comps around him. Of course, not quite as likely in the current meta, given how popular the Jhin and the Ashe are much more supportive picks, but it's interesting to see how they perform around him moving forward.
And I was mostly, as a LCK caster, focused on what Chaser did to change this team that had struggled so much in the late game. I felt that their late game shot calling was better. Of course, sliding scales, their late game has been pretty atrocious for the longest time, but Chaser is known to be a shot calling voice, and his voice added much more than it took away in this particular series. It's sad not to see Crash, who goes from being one of the best mechanical players and massive playmakers into kind of struggling in the late game. But Chaser so far, pass marks for me back on Longzhu.
Yeah, still just a little interesting to see that Chaser can come back in and have relative success. I mean, definitely needed while they were in the Kespa Cup. Didn't work out so much for them in that regard, but so far so good for them. That game 1, a bit rough, but by game 2 they really did nail it down. As we can see in here, Swiper just not really able to make it happen.
Yeah, this was definitely Swiper. Been behind.
He's no Vizicachi.
Coming against double magic resist, double more Malmortius, Locker. This was definitely too late for Swiper.
Yeah.
Whose teleport use let him down quite a bit in that series, but a competitive series nonetheless for the Chiefs overall.
Yeah, especially from Swiffer, who had a pretty strong performance, especially on the Orianna as he gets annihilated right there. But there were times where, no offense to the Chiefs, it did kind of seem like it was going to be a 1v5 that he was playing. He really did try to put the team on his back.
Big Swips has his moments, Spooks has his moments too, but Swiffer definitely the star player on that lineup, of course. They've been eliminated, Longzhu have moved forward, and I like that we were talking briefly about Chaser's ability to shot call, because the question mark for both these teams has been their ability to close in the late game. They're both notoriously good at building early game leads. Flash Wolves, of course, transition that very well into the mid game, but there always feels to be this breaking point when it comes to breaking inhibitors. If an enemy team has wave clear, they always seem to just fall apart on making any more aggressive decisions.
I mean, it's a crazy narrative because previous to Worlds, there wasn't a question that Flash Wolves were able to close out. They'd never lost a game when they were above, I believe, a gold lead after 20 minutes. So they were very good at transition from mid-game to late game. Worlds was that anomaly. They very clearly, extensively struggled. You know, they would win games for 35 minutes and then lose. I believe there was a stat after 2 games where Flash Wolves have been ahead for 85% of their game time and gone 0-2, which is an insane stat to think about. But this is just a series between teams with insane stats. I brought it up a couple of times yesterday, but Longzhu, 8th placed LCK team, had the 2nd best goal difference at 15 minutes in the league, above SKT, above the Rocks Tigers, above Samsung. 3 teams that went through to the semifinals of Worlds. So both these teams clearly have strengths. It's just actually putting them all together and coordinating them into match victories that has eluded them at least recently.
Yeah, well, we'll see if Longzhu is able to find another match victory or if Flash Wolves will take this one. We're going to get that technical problem taken care of, so we're going to throw to a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
And now, League of Legends on the Totino's bucking couch.
All right, let's go, Nikki.
All right, man, all right. It may appear like you've been winning so far, man, but like, honestly, no, I'm sitting on the couch. There's 2 fights to fight right now, and one is the couch fight, and the other one's the game fight. Ugh.
Hey, come back here.
I keep on accidentally typing in the chat. What, you too scared to take my inhibitor? You couldn't, that's what, no!
Woo, woo, oh.
I'm the cover of the bush. I'm the cover, no!
Oh.
Ah! Oh, jeez. What?
I just stole your pizza roll.
What?
I didn't see what
Curse you! Curse you!
Hope everyone is enjoying I Am Oakland. I'm Mark Zimmerman, and every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, I host Late Night League on Yahoo Esports and Twitch. Check out some of the stuff we've been doing. We are saving the best for last, and that's why we got him first. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's special guest, Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, Yunsip Lokodoko Choi, F.A. Shocks de Portre, David Lim, Eugene Po Belter Park, Brandon St. Vicious DeMarco, Darshan Upadaya, Alberto Crumbs Rengifo. De Portre, David Lim, Eugene Po Belter Park, Brandon St. Vicious DeMarco, Darshan Upadaya, Alberto Crumbs Rengifo. Speaking of fun, who better to ruin it all than Travis Gafford? Say hello, Travis.
Hello, Travis.
Getting a little more personal for a second, people always talk about you being like the most genuine caster in a sense. Is that something?
All the other ones are fake, completely scripted. I'm the only real one here. Travis can attest.
You like claim on Twitter you can do a great dolphin impression.
This is actually the only reason we have you on the show.
Yeah, can you do it? You are known for loving your alcohol.
But I didn't name the dog.
Oh, you didn't? That
Yeah.
sounds like a name you would have given it.
Yeah, no, I didn't even name the dog. It's good though.
I'm giving you some of our leftover Halloween candy. Oh my God, you ate it! You want to give a review on that?
Where's the trash can?
I'm gonna blindfold you, and we're gonna have you swing at a piñata.
Okay.
It's a Hecarim style
Okay,
piñata.
here we go.
Oh my God. Is it gonna come off the string, or is it just gonna?
I think.
Am I good? Is it dead yet?
You know what else is insightful, Travis? Next segment, where I talk about League of Legends gameplay. We call it hindsight.
So bad.
We just get to see a big old salt storm right here for NA, just gonna take over.
Luckily, there's going to be a nice little trail here that we'll get to later, but this is essentially the Doritos that she's coming in with. If you play Vayne, you're probably doing that.
You think that there'd be a little bit of a warning? Someone should be saying, hey, watch out, you know, get back up. Warning, you're gonna be in trouble here, the TP's coming in, but they don't do any of that.
Just shut up, Mark!
It's not going away.
Shut up!
You have fun?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you have fun.
I'm
all
trying to
scripted.
make sure that your opening show is not complete garbage.
Yeah. Well,
You're
no,
doing
thanks.
a terrible job of that.
Shots fired.
The biggest rivalries in college. The toughest competitions on campus. Playing out in a new arena. All chosen by you. All in one place. ULOL Rivalries on Yahoo Esports. Game on.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to REM Oakland. Still getting our tech delays taken care of, but we're going to come back in here and just get ready to get back into the game. So, Papa Smithy, what is your? I know you're a caster. Casters don't do predictions, whatever. What is your prediction for this match?
I mean, it's a really
We'll
hard
break the
one.
rules.
It's a really hard one to get a read on, just because the teams share a lot of the same deficiencies, and then there are question marks specifically around Flash Wars. If this was the same Flash Wars, if this series was played pre-Worlds, it would be very easy to break Flash Wars. But everything we thought we knew about the Flash Wars, how much the carry trio, Maple, Karsa, and Sword could do for this team, even against international opposition, it would have been very comfortable to say Flash Wars just run over a team like Longzhu. But Longzhu looked promising yesterday. Flash Wars had that massive sidestep during Worlds, so it's a very hard one to evaluate. And obviously we haven't seen enough of this first game to really get an impression. So I was kind of seeing which team established themselves, that took control in this game. And my basic prediction is the team that wins game one will win this series. Will it be in 2 games? Will it be in 3? That's hard to say, but I think it's all about showing something both on this stage in Oakland and to your teammates, because there's a lot up in the air about the two teams.
And I'm impressed you have that level of confidence in Longzhu. When we saw them play against Jin Air last time, it was a disaster moving to the late game. These guys had a massive lead, 10K, and they threw a game away on the back of some incredibly poor decisions. You know, some maybe overly patient Baron baits where they sat around and waited in a bush and tried to bait a Baron for 5 minutes. I like Longzhu, and I believe that their decision is making is better, especially from the marked improvement we saw in Game 2 yesterday. But my big concern is that if they do get a lead, that Flash Wolves are going to be a good enough team to just turn it around when Longzhu go for something too greedy.
Yeah, but I turn it around, Sif, and I remember casting Flash Wolves games specifically in the first week of groups. You know, obviously didn't get out of groups, but casting those games where they'd be massively ahead at 20 minutes and then spend 30 minutes trying to bait Baron, not really know how to put down deep vision, not really know how to close the game in any other way, and then just kind of get ground out and give the enemy team a chance to go from 2 items to 6 one-team fight, and it's over because of death.
Entire game, so you know, Flash Wolves definitely need to be able to close out early. I mean, we've seen how. Oh, he's just napping, just taking a little snooze in the chair, waiting for the games to get back in. But yeah, Longzhu, we've seen how strong they are early on. So Flash Wolves, you know, it's kind of a double-edged sword here for them because they have to get ahead of Longzhu early and then close it out and not give that lead back over. So it's going to be a little bit of a tough one for them, especially with a rookie.
Yeah, and the rookie is the one that's already kind of put himself in a bad position. He's already laning without summoners, so it's going to be very hard to evaluate standard laning ability of Double Red in a game where he didn't have summoners from level 1. You can't draw too much potentially from this game, but I'm really excited to see more of this player making a role transition. So a bit of his history was on Flash Husky, which is the B team of the Flash, was playing on a lower level of the LMS as a jungler. Carries doesn't always work out as a marriage of temperament, but known as a Lucian player. That was basically the scouting report I got, is that when he did play AD carry in solo queue, favored the Lucian. Here he's on Varus, a new H pick, so clearly has been practicing some of the new meta picks. We are seeing more and more players flex the Varus to AD carry. I have to say, though, the playstyle here is going to be pretty predictable. You get your tier, you build as much AD as possible, you wave clear. It's going to be about safety and positioning from Double Red.
No, don't want to be on camera? That's respectable.
Yeah, that's all right. But look at that. We got our game up and running, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and get right back in. 4 minutes about to be on the clock. Double Red Flash nearly coming up.
Okay, so the thing that I'm really interested about moving forward is going to be the Varus pick, although I may have to be more interested.
Oh, Sword Art.
Okay, so the thing that I'm really interested about moving forward is going to be the Varus pick, although I may have to be more interested.
Oh, Sword Art. It's going to take a hefty chunk of damage there.
All right, focusing back in on Varus. One of the big things about it is Jhin has such a insanely high base damages to balance that out to a certain degree. Jhin just feels like a better pick moving into the mid game, and with Double Red already set up not to take control of this lane with that early summoner spell usage,
actually be running forward, trying to juke out the potential cocoon coming out. It looks like he's going to flash the wall. Chaser is going to pursue, but Karsa's here to back him up. So a little over-aggressive by Chaser, and suddenly not going to have that flash. So it's good on Karsa to be there to support his mid laner.
Yeah, the synergy between Chaser and Frozen certainly wasn't on point there. The follow flash from Chaser, no interest from Frozen to either Ghost or look for anything. Ghost has that lower cooldown. If there was any aggressive mindset from Frozen, we would have seen the fight initiated with a Victor Ghost. But didn't go for it and ends up just kind of between Chaser and Frozen certainly wasn't on point there. The follow flash from Chaser, no interest from Frozen to either Ghost or look for anything. Ghost has that lower cooldown. If there was any aggressive mindset from Frozen, we would have seen the fight initiated with a Victor Ghost. But didn't go for it and ends up just kind of being a waste of a summoner there from Chaser.
Oh boy, now Expansion. He's in a bad spot. Karsa coming up here. They get the stun. Gets a stun into the wall. Expansion just trying to kite around, but I think he's going to go down for this first blood. Running down the river, but Frozen is not there to support him. And there it is. Karsa on the Nidalee, netting the first blood for the Flash Wolves.
If she gets ahead, she is still as much of a terror as she has been in the past. So excellent starting plays.
Can certainly snowball matchups, and Chaser, having lost the flash, makes it a lot difficult for him to match in other lanes. So big early win but certainly not going to call this one early. This is one that really you have to wait for a couple of inhibitors to go down to really be able to anoint or even pencil in a potential winner.
Absolutely.
Even then, who knows?
But looking at the early game decision-making, I'm a little disappointed from Longzhu, and especially from Chaser. We can talk about how they weren't on the same page, Chaser and Frozen, but at the end of the day, it was Chaser who overextended with the...
You have to wait for a couple of inhibitors to go down to really be able to anoint or even pencil in a potential winner.
Absolutely.
Even then, who knows?
But looking at the early game decision-making, I'm a little disappointed from Longzhu, and especially from Chaser. We can talk about how they weren't on the same page, Chaser and Frozen, but at the end of the day, it was Chaser who overextended with the Flash. Already getting both of Orianna's summoners means a Flash Cocoon would have been a free kill in the mid lane if he had just been patient and found an opportunity for a return gank. Maybe not 100% guaranteed, but very easy to execute option. Instead, he gets aggressive, and he goes for something that is, once again, high risk, low reward overall.
Yeah. See Fury trying to land that deadly flourish, not really going to happen. But bottom lane, pretty much just going to be a farm fest as Double Red tries to catch back up. Fury has extended a nice little lead on this Jhin so far. Opted in to go for the Boots of Swiftness very early as opposed to something like the Serrated Dirk, which is very common. So just wants to have that mobility.
So you get the freedom to build items like Swiftness Boots first when you're against a Varus. Varus will always go for tier first, needs to stack it up. Mana pull allows Varus to get those high base damages to wave clear, so he's not actually losing anything. And having Boots of Swiftness to be able to outrun specifically Zyra and her suite of initiation, potentially with the Grasping Roots and even the Strangle Thorns, is very important in this laning phase. And coming back to something you mentioned, Sifa, specifically about the Varus into the Jhin, the one thing you can say is that Varus is so safe, can wave clear off the screen, that it's more about safety, because with Ashe off the board, there aren't really many viable picks to take into Jhin, and we have to wonder how big the champion pool is for Double Red, given that he is very recently moving over to AD carry. So comfort and safety are what you crave for the Varus.
Oh boy, that's going to be ultimate thrown out there. Gets a lot of damage in on the Pure, almost takes him out, but now the curtain call from Fury. This is the first two, finds a third and a fourth, but Double Red's still quite healthy, and Chaser isn't going to be able to get much done, so it looks like they will be able to back off, and they get the heal out of the AD carry of Longzhu.
He actually healed very early. That's why it looked like there was no damage whatsoever coming out from the last Fury shot. So once again, a summoner down. Has flashed now, though, so...
Yeah. And of course, good to stay at higher health. Do not want to get at that execution percentage, or any lower you get, the more damage you're going to take. Heals up, ensures that he's not going to take anything greater, allows him to stay in lane and continue to apply pressure, but it's Karsa now who we have to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, he's got the red buff, so he can slow him up. He's going to throw in that one auto attack. Knows that Chaser is still probably somewhere nearby, so they're going to start peeling back. Just get a little bit of damage in onto the turret, but overall, Flash Wolf's not going to gain much ground.
It just so happened that Victor was walking over for the blue buff transfer, so he was going to be first to a rotation. Smart of them to back away. No future kills coming out for the Flash Wolves, but laning phase will continue, and Karsa continues his invading.
Yep, standing on a ward though, so they'll see both Karsa and Maple, and of course the Wolf Spirit there to back him up. We'll be having that pretty soon in competitive play anymore.
And Longzhu, of course, just do not have the resources to stop this push from happening. And they're not going to be able to clear it out entirely at this stage without another wave to back them up, but they do not have any more members of their team to help defend. And the Zyra wave clear, while pretty reasonable with the plants, is just not enough to stop a ton of damage going onto this turret. It looks like Flash Wolves might just straight up go for first brick here, despite the fact that it's a little bit of a risky move.
They're going to have it. There's no one really nearby. Chaser's up in the river. They're going to throw down the Stranglethorns. Not going to be able to get the knockup, but it doesn't matter. Karsa still walks away with a second kill, taking down Pure.
And Chaser just not providing any pressure on the bot side after that earlier botch gank. Goes to the top side of the map, had actually recalled subsequently, and there was just no one there to relieve pressure for the bot lane. They're going to even lose further minion waves. They can't enter lane here, Longzhu. Fury's already backed, so Longzhu, macro-wise, really passing advantage after advantage over to Flash Wolf.
And between first brick and 2 kills, this is a brutal deficit to be at in the early game. This is going to extend to about 2 or almost 3K very early on, only 10 minutes in. On top of that, Double Red's ult comes up again. So if they want to return to bot lane, or if Double Red wants to go top, they have excellent setup to take another tower. Poppy is not going to be safe up there. So Flash Wolves absolutely in control of this game, and Chaser just making moves here, building aggressively, but not getting anything out of it.
And we gloss over the fact that Double Red got solo first pick, 650 gold. The bounty from that went back, bought a Serrated Dirk, isn't even rushing towards finishing his tier into the Mana Moons. Are going to be a big trading advantage here to match what Fury was putting together. So that big hump, you know, the 700 plus gold you spend on tier is now answered by the first brick, and he's actually able to match combat stats with Fury.
Yeah, I mean, Well, all said and done, getting that assist in, plus that first brick, he's going to be up about 400 gold. So he's going to be in a pretty comfortable spot despite being in that CS disadvantage still. So good turnaround from Flash Wolves, getting those 2 kills on the board. Now they're up 2,000 gold just 11 minutes into this game.
Interesting here too, because with the pressure on the bottom side, Flash Wolves had the opportunity to rotate their bot lane to the top side, force a turret, and accelerate the pace of the game, but they resend their bottom lane down. They look to contest here, and it looks like they are very content extending this laning phase, maybe looking to keep control of the Mountain Drake, but overall, maybe a less aggressive decision from this team, and one that could potentially be very beneficial, because Gnar having no problem against the Poppy, and the laning phase extending, very good for the Orianna, who really wants to hit some of those late game item breakpoints.
But it does feel like Orianna is kind of on a different page to the rest of the team. Consider the rest of the lineup is much more suited to the siege, to the poke war. Orianna can provide some utility in terms of speed up and shields for safety to go for that poke, but Flash Wolves' objectives is to take down the outer ring of turrets as early as possible and start prepping vision for Drakes, for the Barons. So Flash Wolves want to keep their foot in the accelerator. And
oh boy, straight into the transformation. The stun not going to hit from the wall, but MMD does get a lot of damage down onto Expression, and he burns the flash. So that's still going to be a nice pickup for him. Chaser arriving yet again just a little bit too late to try to turn that fight around.
And I really like that. Karsa, of course, there to back him up. Poppy spots Karsa out, knows that he cannot turn to fight the Gnar, that he cannot turn to make that a more even trade, and just has to take the brunt of all of that damage. Will most likely have to burn the TP here onto the top side of the map, or he can save it and give up so much life on the tower. But either way, Flash Wolves, clear advantage there on that top play.
A pathing advantage for Karsa. He's been first to every lane. Chaser's been second. Hasn't been able to get anything done, and Nidalee does, of course, have this speed, the ability to pounce between camps, always has an innate advantage there, but it's been pathing and also the champion pick that has allowed Karsa to open up a big lead over his opposite number, and what was one of the featured matchups in this game.
Absolutely, and of course the big question mark was, why are we not seeing the Olaf priority? Why are we seeing the Nidalee priority? Of course, Karsa, an insane Nidalee player, a similar story for Chaser, but given the current state of the meta, given the past games that we've seen, we expected Olaf to be higher priority, but we're seeing now why Nidalee can be such a strong powerhouse, because once again, she gets a lead similar to Olaf, can just start to take over a game.
To me, the Elise is taken here because if you ever get a lead in the early game in any of these lanes, they're set up CC to allow potential kills. You know, both Poppy, Jhin, and even in the mid lane with the Victor, it feels like the 2v2 skirmish can be powerful. Speaking of 2v2, it's going to be a bit more than that here.
Yeah, that's going to be the curtain call coming out to get a lot of shots in on the double red, trying to slow him up. Fourth shot connects, as does the Cocoon, and that is one dead Varus. Expression charging in to get the killing blow, and Longshu finally put one on the board.
And right as you mentioned it, Papa Smithy, the chain CC comes in perfect onto double red to make sure they get that kill. Not even an opportunity to flash there before. It would have just been death anyway.
And this is the same thing that Expression was doing yesterday. Consider MMD teleport to the top lane as Chaser and Karsa.
Yeah, he's going to go in, takes a lot of damage. The root coming through, Mantra Q as well to chunk out the Nidalee. They're going to have to back off.
And this is something I never thought I would say, but Expression has been the best teleport user at this tournament, known for his playing in his own lane, known for being a split pusher. He has come to this tournament and frequently he has seen an enemy top laner teleport back to top lane just to, buy items and continue laning, and Expression is sacked lane, gone somewhere else on the map, and made things happen. And it's great to see his map rotational play actually start to take his play to the next level.
And while that was a solid pickup, it does continue to extend the lead that MMD has built for himself on the top side, 132 to 107. The Frozen Mallet coming in as well, so it only gets harder for Expression to be comfortable in this laning phase. But if he can keep making these teleport plays, there's pretty big opportunity for Longshu to come back. If they can force a team fight, if they can chain that CC and start a fight with a man advantage, it could be very good for them, especially as Victor starts to complete his Hex Core upgrades and we start to look towards what I assume will be a Rylai's next.
So you can see MMD going to be building up that Gnar bar, has the ultimate up yet again, and Karsa is waiting in the wings. Hopping forward, nice interruption though. Charging up the Poppycopter, will he be able to hit him? Nope, he's gonna go wide, now they go straight in underneath the turret. Star stun into the wall, Expression pushes him back out away from the tower, actually doing him a favor before he dies. And that's just going to be the third kill picked up for the Flash Wolves.
All of us waiting with bated breath, expecting at least one of those skill shots to miss, for Poppy to walk away to safety, but everything connects for the Flash Wolves. Make sure that they're going to grab not only the kill, but the topside tower. 4K gold lead at 15 minutes, and as excited as we want to be about this, this is what we said at the start of the game. Can they close? Can they continue to extend this gold lead? Will it be clean, or are we going to see Flash Wolves get a nice gold lead, look nice and pretty in the mid game, and then just fall apart when it comes to making those critical decisions.
Yeah, and I mean, if Papa, if your prediction is correct, then Flash Wolves might just be walking away with this series. Whether or not it's in 2 games or 3, I don't know, but the Flash Wolves are looking quite strong, and honestly, Double Red got killed at the bottom. Longzhu had to commit a lot to pick up that kill. Doesn't seem like he's going to be much of a liability for the squad so far.
The composition is coming together for Flash Wolves. Next part of the puzzle is to take that mid outer turret, have all 3 down, and then really start to monopolize some of these objectives like the Drakes. No one has visited the Drake yet at 16 minutes. But now Longzhu able to keep control of the game, but the pace will really change if they can find a way to brute force Victor's turret.
And that one's going to be a bit tough.
Yeah, definitely not. One of the perks, of course, of picking Victor is that even if the early game does go poorly, as long as your Victor is not in a massive deficit, he's always going to be that wave clear bot, that secondary option, just to stall the game as they move forward. But when we look at the late game, I feel like Jhin is going to outscale the Varus. Gnar, of course, a very big threat to tanks as we move further in the game, but Victor Jhin, such a strong core.
And the side of Flash Wolves, much more suited to that siege than the 5v5 team fight.
Oh boy, I have this one coming through again. MMD gets the transformation, hits him with a wallop, pushes him back, and might just find the solo kill. MMD has to be careful though, he's fighting in the minion wave, but here comes Maple zipping his way up from mid. Flash away by Expression, tries to get the sun, actually is able to get it. Nicely done by Expression to turn that one around, but Maple gets the killing blow.
But this will be a big win. Look in the bot side. Finally, the wave has crashed at bot. They're going to get a turret for this here, Longzhu. So because they had to commit 2 members and only go 1 for 1, big win for Longzhu across the map.
Exactly where they wanted to be, starting to make moves to come back. And of course, with the bot lane tower going down, the gold lead's going to continue to shrink. And this gold lead, while very sizable for this stage of the game, if they can keep on this pace, it's not going to be a big deal. And Double Red maybe biting off a little more than he can chew.
Yeah, throwing out the ultimate, not going to connect on the Frozen. Takes a good burst of damage from that Chaos Storm, but overall, he's going to be all right. Retreats back to the mid lane.
And while I like what Flash Wolves is doing, consider that they're doing this in a risky fashion. They're not really pushing up at a lot of walls. They do have a nice pink wall down. I do tell a lie. They have actually done some pretty good job of making this push safe. But Longzhu are just staying at the bottom. It will be a bit of an overstay though if they try to go for this turret.
Yeah, Chaser taking a couple turret shots. MMD going to get that speed up from the Hyper. Cocoon not going to land, but it doesn't matter. They're just going to let Chaser walk out with his life, but they got his flash.
It's really big that they don't take down this inner turret because it's not realistic to actually path back to such a advanced part of Flash Wolves' bot lane in the next 3 or 4 minutes. That's a lot of standing gold they could have picked up. That's going to be very hard for them to actually take for at least the next 10 minutes of the game.
And I really like that play coming out in the end. I wish Longzhu had been able to get that bottom tier tower because getting the bottom tier, setting up that pressure on the bottom side makes it much easier to control vision around the Baron pit. Of course, it's only 18 minutes, but as we approach the 20-minute mark, especially if one of these teams wants to get a Mountain Drake, and especially with the Zyra present on one team, you do have to respect the potential for early Baron takes. And without that tier falling, it just feels like Longzhu, it looks so good for them to start, but once again, the trade works against them.
Well, looks like we have another pause coming out. We'll see what the issue is. Try to get back into this game. So far, 4-2 on the board, just 19 minutes in. Haven't had a lot of kills, but we've had a lot of skirmishes coming out, especially around that top lane. MMD definitely feeling comfortable on this Gnar.
We're building towards a crescendo, no sooner in the game, but regardless, building towards a crescendo that we just haven't seen. This has been basically what you'd expect given the comps. Flash Wolves have been having the slight advantage in taking turrets. They want to keep the pressure high. They want to keep pushing forward, trying to get the siege going. But they haven't really been able to group as 5. And while they're taking these easy objectives, the Flash Wolves at Worlds, they just struggle to take the difficult objectives, the inhibitor turrets, the inhibitors, actually find a way to take Barons and close games. And we just haven't got a window into that, so I'm still very reticent to give a full opinion about the Flash Wolves until we see a Nexus explode on the other side.
So interesting too, as we move forward in the game, I was skeptical when they didn't accelerate the pace in the early stages, but now that they've done it, now the question, as you mentioned, is can Flash Wolves make dirty calls? Can they take risky plays? Because they can make clean calls. They can take free objectives. They can manipulate those resources in that sense, but can they take the fights where they're going to lose a couple members but come out on top in the end? And as we get closer to Baron, that's going to be the huge central focus for both these teams because you know, whatever you can say about Chaser, he still has amazing potential to steal. One of the few perks of not picking the Olaf, of course, is that, you know, you're not, your natural enemy isn't a wall. You can get over that pit, you can steal the Baron, you can contest, and if Flash Wolves hesitate, it's going to set up Longzhu for easy ways to come back into this game. But at this stage, I think it's very clearly in Flash Wolves' control. I'm excited to see that Karsa is still performing well because he had some rough games on the world stage, and his good pathing in this early game and confidence in his decision-making was pretty key in building this lead.
Yeah, I mean, having this 4,000 lead already, pre-20 minutes for the Flash Wolves is pretty strong. Going up against an opponent like Longzhu, because they're so good at the early game. So outclassing them in that regard is a really good sign for the Flash Wolves. But again, the biggest thing is that they have to be able to close out. If they cannot do that, then eventually they'll just bleed themselves dry, and Longzhu will get, one opportunity to come back in. And if they take it, then they might just be walking, their way into the final.
I like the phrase you use, Sifa, the dirty calls. It's not about 50-50 Barons. It's just at Worlds, Flash Wolves weren't making 50-50 Barons, but at some point it looked 60-40, it looked 70-30, and they were still not willing to commit to going for something without perfect vision, without perfect setups. And I think the best teams in the world, they make the educated calls. They take that prisoner dilemma and they go for the high risk, the medium risk, high reward plays that can really change the course of a series. We've seen so many 20-minute SKT Barons back in the day, big power plays in the 20 to 25-minute phase, and 20 to 30 minutes is where the Flash Wolves really lost their luster at Worlds. So that's why we're starting to creep towards that 20-minute phase. So far, it's so good for the Flash Wolves, but you could say that for 4 or 5 out of their 6 games at Worlds, and they didn't put many victories after that first 20 minutes.
And it's interesting, too, because they are the team that, that kind of brought this label upon themselves with the combination of aggression from the LPL, of the very macro-oriented mindset of the region of Korea, right? But where's the LPL aggression, right? Where is that name that they've applied for themselves? Because they're playing so safe, and it's not even, at a certain point, it's not even tactical. It's illogical to play that safe. You have a lead, you win a fight, just pull the trigger. Just go for a fight, make an aggressive decision. I mean, the only way it goes south is if your members fail to execute, and you really need to have faith in your ability to play as a team. And, if we don't see that in game 1, I don't think we're going to see it throughout the series at all.
Yeah, well, so far, looks like MMD and Karsa at least have been willing to be aggressive up in that top side of the map, giving Expression some hell. Already has 3 deaths, 3 out of the 4 that Longzhu has suffered. Looks like just going to be doing a slight test. Looks like we might be ready to get back into the game. And here we go. So 19 minutes on the clock. Flash Wolves currently in the lead, about 4,000 gold.
And of course,
Maple and Sword are just hovering in the mid lane.
100% kill participation for Expression as well, 75% death participation. So definitely a polarizing player, making things happen. Maybe not always in favor of Longzhu, sadly, but as we move out of the laning phase, if Chaser can get a pick here.
Oh yeah, Karsa gets rooted out by the Cocoon and the Deadly Flourish, and he gets taken out. Fury finding a kill. Shockwave does connect. A little bit missed time to get Chaser though, but it doesn't matter. Pure, he still is quite squishy on that Karma. He's gonna get taken down. Maple finds a kill. Nice flash over into the Dragon Pit, but it's kind of just delaying his own death. Flash forward by Fury, really wants to get the killing blow, but Frozen's gonna take it anyway. Maple pretty much dead to rights at that point. And Longzhu say, oh look, a Mountain Drake.
And solid playmaking from Longzhu, aggressive there. They get the man advantage, they continue to take the fight. Maple already does an insane amount of damage, but it's simply not enough. Takes the risky flash, the fight turns against him. The Mountain Drake drops, but meanwhile, Gnar is on the top side. Double Red is in the mid lane, and while they did get the Dragon, they may lose more in exchange.
Yeah, I mean, their tier 2 is gone.
It actually got a little bit of damage onto the inhibitor tower, which will regen, but MMD didn't find a path into the fight. Expression didn't have to use his teleport, wasn't involved either. But it's a slight win from Longzhu. You can see what this comp can do when it's operating under good conditions. The long-range engage of the Cocoon into the Deadly Flourish was enough to pick up a couple kills there for Longzhu, and that is also the turret, inner turret down bot, crashing down as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's really good CC chaining that you can put down there. You have the Cocoon, you have the Sun from the Poppy, the Gravity Field, as well as the Deadly Flourish, and then the Tether from the Karma. So there's a lot that Longzhu can use, and you saw it right there in practice, just picking off Karsa, and then Maple was pretty much a surefire pickup as well right after that.
Of course, as we move forward with the Black Cleaver finished on Gnar, it's going to get harder and harder for Poppy to sit comfortably in that lane. Not that she's not already cowering under that.
She's pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah. But we can take a look at this one again, and the perfect chain CC that comes in here is excellent. And on top of that, Karsa, one of the few vulnerabilities of Nidalee is if you ever tank any of that CC, you're pretty much dead to rights. Now, the use of the ultimates here, I think a little over-aggressive. Yes, Maple does grab the kill, but the most he's setting up for there is a 1-for-1 trade. He's not setting up for a 1-team fight and doesn't respect the potential, I think, for the rest of Longzhu to be waiting in the wings.
Well, I mean, it was a bit of a missed timing as well. He wanted to catch Chaser coming down from the rappel, maybe get a double kill in that regard, but he wasn't able to find it. Looks like we have just another pause as we go back in, trying to take care of this one. Looks like Longzhu just having some issues on their side of the stage. So we'll just be confirming with them what the problem is and taking care of it.
And I have the advantage of having the mini-map on my screen, but what I'm starting to see now around 21 minutes is the team with the Nidalee, the team with the Varus, the team that is set up to siege, has lost all semblance of vision on the red side jungle, on the side of Longzhu. And this was, again, the sort of situation that we saw back at Worlds. They very much struggled to dot their I's and cross the T's, set up vision so they're able to go for the siege that the comp is built around. And it might just be because we saw some fighting, but it's the sort of trend that I hope not to see from the Flash Wolves, because it is the sort of thing that slowed down the pace of their games back at Worlds.
And it's interesting what the vision that they do have set up indicates. They have a little bit of vision around the pit, a little bit of vision around the mid lane, setting up so that Varus can continue to pressure, so that Orianna can go to a side lane, so that Gnar can stay in a side lane. But they have vision on the top side, behind the Poppy, looking potentially for a flank onto the Poppy, looking potentially for a pick, but not really setting themselves up to take Baron, to take control of the top side jungle, which is where I think they need to be looking to apply the pressure. They have immense teamfight power. If Longzhu ever try to contest, if they ever try to face check, while they don't have the insane chain CC that Longzhu do for picks, you can just use one of those ultimates to make a pick, get a one-for-one trade. If you take a jungler or a major carry off the map, it's such an easy transition to Baron. It's really, I would say it's very questionable from Flash Wolves. Of course, they did just reset the map. They have the potential to change where their vision is placed. Poppy can now push on the top side, can restore the pressure there and give them a free access to put down that vision. But if they don't do it, it seems like lackluster decision-making.
And some of their setups here are actually pretty intricate. One thing to consider is when they flex the Varus to bot, Varus, after those turrets go down, wants to be in mid lane wave clearing. It's effectively mid Varus at that point when you have some AD and some mana. But when you draft Orianna, Orianna's also a champion that doesn't do well in side lanes. Even with Ghost Flash, it's not the Vladimir that was well in the meta back during World's time. It's not a Kassadin that can take teleport and affect other lanes. It feels like they're kind of stuck with both of these immobile wave clear champions. Only one of them can go to mid. The other one's not flourishing in a side lane. So they're it's much more important for them to group as 2, as 3, as 4, go on aggressive warding missions and play as a team, because otherwise they're just going to bleed gold, because one of Orianna and Varus is going to be caught without a safe lane to farm it.
Of course, I want to look forward and see exactly how Flash Wolves are going to play this out in terms of looking for team fights or continuing to split push. Because as you said, they don't have a solid split pusher. Of course, Longzhu doesn't really have anyone great to match them, but Longzhu is much better set up for team fights. They have the Victor, they have this instant AoE damage. Of course, Orianna has a similar presence, but Longzhu is better prepared for those situations, whereas Gnar with the split push build, the Black Cleaver, the Frozen Mallet, that's a lot of health, yes, but it's very easy for him to get deleted if he gets caught out, especially in that mini Gnar. And I'm just wondering, Flash Wolves, what is your plan? What is your strategy? Are you going to play around Baron? And luckily, we are going to be moving back into game here, and we'll get to find out. But it's going to be the next couple minutes going to be very crucial for Flash Wolves to close this one out.
Yeah, seems like Carson was having some connectivity issues, but we got him back into the game. And we will see what his next move is going to be. Already, just got caught out, suffered his first death. Doesn't want that to happen again. Really have a hard-fought battle over that ward brush. All in all, Flash Wolves will come out on top. It's not going to gain them a whole lot at this point. 22 minutes, very early for either of these teams to even think about going to Baron.
And to take away as a viewer is the longer the game goes on balance, Orianna accepted, things look better and better for Longzhu. The late game seems to favor them in terms of composition. So all you can say is if we just keep trading farm, things are pretty happy for Longzhu.
Oh boy, Maple taking these curtain call shots. Last one isn't going to land. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Karsa finding a kill on a Frozen. Is clearing out the waves, but pushed way too far forward. Doesn't have that tier 2 turret. Gets caught all on his lonesome by 3 members, and he goes down.
And if Flash Wolves don't commit to going towards this inhibitor turret, of course, it's a very difficult objective to rush down. Longzhu may get a free mid lane turret. As I say that, they all back away. No free objectives, just a single kill over to Flash Wolves.
Yeah, had to be worried about that collapse coming down from Flash Wolves.
Yeah, good use of the Defiance from Pure to make sure the team could get out in that situation. Have to be careful here, have to respect it. But Flash Wolves, as a result, now should be able to take down this mid lane turret. There's not a lot of wave killer left, and with Karsa throwing spears and hitting spears over the side of that wall, it's going to be very difficult. But MMD going in.
Yeah, using the last second of his Mega Gnar to get that stun into the wall, but now might have bitten off more than he can shoot, trying to kite back and use that boomerang to slow up as much as he can. But Chaser and Expression are both hot on his heels. The flash for the cocoon. Not gonna land, but Expression is cutting him off on the other side. It's gonna take some fancy footwork from MMD if he's gonna make it out of here. We'll have to check back in with him. Looks like he's getting pinched down, but the turret does fall. Chaser and Expression both gonna come in. One hit there. It's gonna be the cocoon to lock him up, and it was gonna be the solo kill in the end, going over to the Elise.
It's a heavy price to play. They actually lose the mid lane outer turret, which they'd been so good at defending for the first 20 minutes of the game. Will this be enough for that aggressive vision to come in for Flash Wolves? For the Baron setups to start for Flash Wolves, because finally the outer ring of turrets has been pierced.
Now Longzhu now pushing down the mid lane despite...
Tjo bror.
Tjena.
Vilka jävlar, ja. Han ringde mig, vet du, han ringer mig när jag sitter, jag är på väg dit alltså. Han ringer mig, vänta jag ska visa dig vad det heter. Alltså du kommer dö av garv. Vart är den? Truecaller. Gudfar och son. Du vet när han ringer på Truecaller då står det, du vet, istället för att det ska stå namn och så, det står Gudfar och son. Och sen står det så här Lidingö och grejer, du vet så här.
Deras företag.
Ja, det är deras företag tydligen. Nej, deras företag är Annas... vänta.
Ja, men det är det företaget som äger Annas grejen säkert. Eller så har han två företag. Eller så har han olika företag bara.
Här, kolla. Välkommen på intervju till oss. Det, han har ringt mig och snackat med mig. Och sen han sa till mig, han bara, jag kommer messa till dig, smsa dig. Vad heter de? Vänta, vad ni sa. Ska du spela med mig och Arthur Paladinsen när han loggar om en halvtimme eller något sånt?
Kan jag göra.
Vill du spela nu?
Kolla på min YouTube-sida.
Jag loggar in nu. Ja, men lyssna bara. I alla fall så sa han till mig att han messade. Så han bara, välkommen på intervju till oss på Annas assistans. Tisdag den 22/11 klockan 11:00. Vi sitter på Roslagsgatan 50A i Vasastan i Stockholm. Trevlig helg. Olof heter han. Och det är han som ringde mig, du vet, och som snackade med mig.
Alltså han, vet, nu är imorgon onsdag.
Idag. Tisdag, vilken onsdag?
Ja.
Vem sa onsdag?
Nej, men jag har det fel.
Ja, nej, så välkommen på intervju tisdagen den 22/11 klockan 11:00. Vi sitter på Roslagsgatan 50A i Vasastan, Stockholm. Trevlig helg. Ja, så hade han messat det där till mig. Sen, vänta. Sen ringer han mig. Han ringer mig idag, du vet.
Ja.
Men jag har ju inte sparat hans nummer, så du vet. När första gången när han ringde mig, då stod inte så här Gudfar och son. Och så nu när han ringer, då står det så här Gudfar och son. Jag bara, vad fan är det här? Så jag svarade inte första, för jag ville ju, du vet, åka dit till intervjun, du vet så. Sen ringer den igen, du vet. Så jag bara, vad fan? Så svarar jag, du vet. Och jag bara, tjena. Jag bara, tjena. Han bara, det är Olof. Han bara, du skulle ju komma nu klockan 11, bla bla. Jag bara, jag vet, jag är på väg, du vet så här. Han bara, jag tänkte säga till dig, är det för sent att säga till dig att bara vända liksom och sådär. Jag bara, va? Nej, det är absolut inte för sent, men varför? Sen, han bara, nej men alltså vi fick ju lite förhinder och bla bla bla, så vi skulle jättegärna vilja träffa dig, vi ber så hemskt mycket om ursäkt och bla bla bla. Så det du kan göra, det är att du kan gå hem och mejla mig ditt CV och ditt personliga brev, och vi kommer skippa den här fasen. Jag ger dig det här försprånget, alltså, förstår du, så slipper vi det här intervjun. Han bara, eftersom det blev fel från min sida. Jag bara, nice, varför inte du? Så nu jag sitter bara medan vi snackar, jag sitter och skickar in den nu. 3 sekunder så är den klar. Ska du logga Paladins eller?
Ja, kolla på min Facebook först.
Ja just det, var
eller
det
på min YouTube.
Jag skulle göra. Just det, var det. Jag hade internet uppe, jag bara, vad fan skulle jag göra här? YouTube, hur kollar jag?
Jag livestreamar min kanal där.
Vänta, varför inte jag inloggad för? Logga in, mannen. Har jag ens YouTube? Jag har inte. Jo, där. Där var det. Så nu är jag inne. Hur gör jag, sa du?
Mr. E942 kan du söka.
Men ska inte jag typ ha det eller någonting?
Du vet jag, Regular Gamer Channel heter det.
Vad heter det? Så Mr. MR, vadå?
E942.
E9. Där har vi det. livestream 2 månader sedan. Hur fan kollar jag live?
Ja, men kolla
Där,
på-
regular game channel with Mr.
Exakt. Den...
En tittar nu.
Ja.
Silver TV live VR LoL Intel Master. Jag vet inte.
Ja, gå och kolla på den.
Ja. What the fuck?
Ser du, jag ser LoL.
Sitter du och spelar LoL sådär eller?
Nej, jag håller på att kolla på Intel Masters. Det är den här silver.tv. De sänder så här VR.
Hur fan kan man spela VR sådär? Det ser fett fucked up ut.
Så de håller på att ta, de håller på att vinna här
ja,
nu.
Jag ser.
Du ser, jag ser det kommentatorn visar i samma grejer, ser du.
Men logga LoL då? Vill du spela LoL?
Ett ögonblick.
Eller nej, vi spelar på
de är klara här snart. Jag vill bara streama klart den här. Det är andra semifinalen.
LoL kan spela fan Paladins. Jag har inte spelat Paladins på länge. Jonte har inte loggat, han har dissat mig.
Det är skitcoolt. Jag ser ju när de springer runt här på banan. Jag är uppe i luften över banan, så kan jag kolla runt.
Är det du? Det är du som kollar vart du vill?
Ja. Och sen här uppe har jag en TV. Ser du där uppe?
Nej.
På själva. Det kommer komma snart.
Där, och jävlar, vad är det där för TV?
Det är den själva streamen.
Som de visar?
Mm.
Vilken är det? Är det en livestream eller vad?
Ja, det är livestream. Det är nu. Intel Master.
Vem är det som spelar?
Det är... Va?
Vilka är LZ?
Det är LZG. Det är de här... Vad fan heter de? Jag kommer inte ihåg vad de heter. Men om du går in på Twitch så ser du.
Ja, FW. Varför stannade den nu plötsligt? Vänta, jag ska bara kolla på dina andra. Har det funnits en som vi har spelat? Som man kan kolla på, som du har lagt upp eller?
Jag har flera stycken som vi har spelat.
Vilka?
Typ alla CS är som vi har spelat.
Jag minns inte.
Och jag tror Paladins också. Det är det som vi spelar.
Ja, där har vi en CS-grej. Nu spelade vi alla, eller?
Och shit, de dödar den där stora jävla draken. De fick typ 700 guld tror jag av den här draken. Och då fick jag pass. Jävlar. Longzo heter de. Mot, vad fan heter de? Legend Wolf. Eller vad fan de heter.
Vänta, jag sitter och kollar på en syn som spelar. Abba, vad skönt du har lagt den där camen, mannen, med de där dubbelpistolerna. Alltså, det ser fett coolt ut, mannen. De heter så. Baby.
Flash Wolf. Att man kan titta på CS så här också. De sänder CS också så här.
Alltså, vad sa du? Du ska inte spela nu, du ska jag förstod inte.
Jo, jag kan spela nu.
Nej, alltså det är lugnt alltså. Jag har inte bråttom så, men jag är bara förvirrad. Sure. Fan vad coolt alltså, jag satt och kollade på det här när du satt och fan vad nice hur du la